1963, McDonald's would introduce their brand new mascot, this being Ronald McDonald, and he looks kinda weird, a lot different from how we see him nowadays. This version of the character luckily only appeared in like 3 commercials, which is good because he looks terrifying, and luckily they would change his design. And in 1970, they would introduce the McDonald Land series of ads. And boy, did these ads really look like a fever dream. I don't know what drugs these people in the 70s were taking, bro. The McDonald Land ads would continue and evolve through the 80s and 90s. And in 1987, McDonald's released an 8-minute video called Ronald McDonald and the Adventure Machine. This is an 8-minute animation that was played at McDonald's birthday parties. And I'm pretty sure it's the first animated appearance of the McDonald Land gang. The short is pretty cool, but there's nothing really too special about it. But then in 1989, McDonald's would release another animated special. This time it was 24 minutes long and was called McTreasure Island and was released on VHS. This one is pretty good, but a lot of it just feels like advertising, which is what it is. Maybe it should try to be an actual entertaining piece of content though. McDonald's wouldn't release any more animated stuff for a while. That was until 1998 when they dropped on us Scared Silly. Scared Silly would be released on October 9th, 1998, and unlike the other McDonald's VHS tapes, this one would be available in McDonald's restaurants. The episodes actually start out in live action before they go animated, which is pretty interesting. Kinda like the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. We get the theme song, which is the same song I played in the beginning of this video, and it's kind of annoying. Never bothered me when I was little, but now I just think it's a little weird and annoying. The show gets a new intro later on, which I think is way better and gets stuck in my head all the time, but we're not there yet. The live action segments are pretty fun, but we're all here for the animated parts. Now first off, this animation looks amazing, and that's because it was done by Klasky Csupo, who's the same studio who made Rugrats and All Real Monsters. This is basically a Nickelodeon McDonald's show. This episode centers around the gang going camping, but after it starts raining, they take refuge in this creepy old house. They eventually see this little hologram dude who starts playing all these tricks on them while they're there. But at the end of the episode, it's revealed that the hologram dude was just a little kid named Franklin. Turns out Franklin's dad is a scientist and he was reprogramming virtual reality projectors or something. After this, they decide they're gonna go back to camping, and Franklin's like, man, I'm sorry, can I go camping with y'all? And so Ronald's like, yeah, you're our new friend now. Franklin is now a part of the cast, so get used to seeing him throughout this show. In fact, this show adds a lot of characters that weren't in the original McDonald's commercials. So let's talk about some of these new characters. The first new character of the series is Sunday, who is Ronald's dog. He's the only new character to appear in both the live-action segments and the animated segments. And the live-action version of him is absolutely terrifying. The animated version looks fine, he just looks really weird and creepy in the live-action one. Now this next one isn't a new character, but they did redesign him, and I think it's worth mentioning for that alone, and that is Hamburglar. They completely changed this character, and it's definitely for the better. He looks way cooler now and just acts cooler. 10 out of 10, amazing character. The next actual new character we're gonna talk about is Ronald's car. Now I'm on tvtropes.org right now, and they have his name listed as Mixplorer, and I don't think they say his name in any of the episodes, so I don't know where they got this from, but I'm gonna start calling him Mixplorer now because that's a cool name. He's basically just a snarky, sentient car. Now the next character kinda doesn't count as an original character, since he did appear in one commercial, but besides that, he only appeared in episode 3 of this series. That character being I Am Hungry, who just eats and repeats his own name. There's actually 2 versions of the commercial he appears in. The first one features the same voice that appears in the Wacky Adventures of Ronald McDonald. However, about 2 years ago, a different version of the commercial was uploaded to YouTube. It's the exact same in like every way, except his voice is different different. I don't know why, I just felt like pointing that out because it's a fun fact. Anyway, the next new character we get is Tika. She's pretty much just a teenage girl. She really doesn't have many other qualities. So yeah, that's Tika. And the only other main new characters are Franklin and his dad, who we already talked about. So now that we've learned a little bit more about these new characters, let's jump into episode 2, The Legend of Grimace Island. In this episode, Grimace calls up Ronald to tell him that he's got a letter from all the Grimaces on Grimace Island, and they need help, and Grimace will get a treasure if he helps them. Ronald's excited because he's like, yup, an adventure. The show is called The Wacky Adventures of Ronald McDonald, so I guess that makes sense. Anyway, they set sail to Grimace Island, and yup, Franklin's here. I told you he'd become a character. It's weird though, because from now on, he really just acts like a chill dude. But in the first episode, he was on his like mega troll freaking them out, but I'm chilling with this chill character now, so I guess it's cool. They get to Grimace Island and the King Grimace is like, bro, no Grimace even wrote this. I don't know where you got this from. And then it's revealed that this pirate who wants the Grimace treasure wrote it so that she could follow Grimace to Grimace Island. This pirate's name is One-Eyed Sally, and she's like an okay character. I think the pirate really should have been Captain Crook, though. That would have been a W reference. She's really a lame villain, too. She basically gives up at the end because Grimace threatens to tickle her for some reason. Then all the Grimaces give Grimace the Grimace treasure, which is this, like, gold cup. Epic. Also, if their species is called Grimaces, then why is Grimace's name Grimace? Is he the best Grimace? I assume not, because there's like a king there, you know, there's like a whole like society. He's not even a part of like, he left Grimace Island and he's called Grimace. It's wild. He abandoned all of that shit, bro. But overall, this is a good episode. I like it more than I like Scared Silly for sure. The boat setting was pretty interesting, and going to Grimace Island and seeing all the other Grimaces was pretty cool. So overall, good episode. But now I want to talk about something that y'all may have been wondering. This show is from the 90s. Why do I like it so much? So, I was born in 2007, which makes me 17 years old. So it's a little weird for me to like a cartoon series about McDonald's that was made in the 90s. But I have a weird relationship with old media. See, despite me being born in 2007, I still used VHS tapes a lot. I don't really know why my family was still using VHS tapes, but they were, and I had a fascination with VHS tapes, and to this day, I have a good VHS collection. And of course, some of the VHS tapes I had when I was little were these McDonald's VHS tapes. McDonaldland as a concept wasn't really in commercials at that time, and it hasn't been in a very long time. So these tapes were my introduction to the idea of McDonaldland and all the McDonaldland characters. And when I was little, I happened to really like these because they're entertaining and they are good. Despite being advertisements for McDonald's, these are genuine good cartoons. So that's why I like these so much. The time has come to talk about the third and best episode in this series, that being the Visitors from Outer Space. In this episode, Hamburglar finds an alien who he then agrees to go on a trip with. However, he then realizes that he would be gone for 3,000 years. This leads to Ronald and the gang going up in space to save him. The space aspect of this episode is awesome. Maybe I just like space stuff, but this is super cool. This episode is also the only appearance of I Am Hungry, who we talked about earlier, and the songs in this episode are a bop. Yeah, I haven't talked about the songs in this series up till this point, but there's actually around 4 songs for each episode, and the ones in this episode really shine. The song that Hamburglar sings while he's in the spaceship still gets stuck in my head to this day. This episode is also one of the last appearances of Jack Depke as Ronald McDonald. He played Ronald from 1991 to 1999, until he was replaced by David Hussey, who appears in the next 3 episodes. New theme song time. Yup, along with the new Ronald actor, we also get a new theme song, and it is so much better. The theme is an absolute bop. And I also think that David Hussey is a much better Ronald actor. The live action segments have also been changed quite a bit. And now, instead of jumping into the cartoon, Ronald instead plays the cartoon, which is a little less cool, but whatever. In this episode, Hamburglar feels bad because he didn't get Ronald a gift for his birthday. That's when this little short dude comes in and says he's gonna give him tickets to Birthday World. They get on a ride which somehow turns them all into babies, where it's revealed that the short dude from earlier is like basically mad about being short, so he's turning everyone else into babies. They eventually throw him into a vat of acid though, and he dies. In the ending live action segment, Ronald shows one gift that he hasn't opened yet, and it's a surfboard from the Grimaces on Grimace Island, which is pretty cool for them to reference the other episodes. Also, Sunday no longer appears in the live action segments, which is good because he was terrifying, so you know. But overall, it's a pretty good episode to introduce the new Ronald. It's definitely not like the best of the series or anything. It's probably the most forgettable episode, but it's still good, so. On to episode 5. When I was younger, this was actually the first David Hussey episode that I acquired, and it was weird seeing a different Ronald actor in such different live action segments compared to the other 3 episodes I'd seen at that time. Also, fun fact that David Hussey would end up playing Ronald until 2014, when he was taken over by Brad Lennon, who still plays Ronald to this day. Now, I had never really seen or heard of the Brad Lennon Ronald, so I looked him up, and what the heck, they changed how he looked. Why did they change bro's outfit? His outfit was so peak before. They don't even really use him to advertise food anymore. He's really just there for like their charity stuff, which I guess is good that they're not marketing hamburgers that'll make you fat to, you know, children, but whatever. Anyway, let's get back on topic and talk about this episode. This episode is about time travel, and the first segment is Ronald talking all about time for a little bit, where he even interviews himself about time. This is really funny, and I hadn't watched this episode in a very long time, so seeing this again was just hilarious. In the animated segment, the gang is helping Franklin's dad clean up his lab. Here we get one of the catchiest songs of the series. I know I've barely been mentioning the songs, but the ones that bump really bump. After cleaning for a while though, Sunday discovers Franklin's dad's time machine, and all of them are very interested in it. Franklin tells him not to mess with it, but of course Hamburglar does because he's a straight savage. This leads to them going through multiple time periods, and even meeting their own caveman self. They even go to the 70s, and we see Mayor McCheese for the first time since the 80s. They eventually find their way back though, and get the lab all cleaned up. After this, we get the live action segment, and also a promo for the next episode. This episode being the Monster O' McDonald Land Lock. I remember seeing the promo for this when I was younger watching this, and I always wanted to see this episode, but I could never find it, and there was a good reason for that. While all the other episodes have been online for years, and you can easily find copies on eBay, the same couldn't be said for episode 6. It turns out this episode, unlike the others, was never released in McDonald's restaurants, but instead was exclusive to Klasky Csupo's online store. And this was in 2003, not that many people were probably ordering things online. Because of this, it seemed no one had a copy, and so for years you couldn't watch this episode online at all. That was until 2014, when an anonymous user posted on 4chan that they had a copy of the tape, revealing what the cover looked like, and it was this. A lot of people were skeptical that this wasn't the real tape, but the user provided screenshots proving it was real. It seems the tape just had this weird cover because it was sold online, and I don't know, they probably just, if they weren't going to release it in the restaurants, why create a cover for it? Later, the 4chan user would make another post, this time saying that they had ripped the tape to their computer and that it would be uploaded soon, and they even provided some screenshots to prove this. This all led up to the big day, September 6, 2015, when the episode was finally uploaded online. In this episode, Sunday gets a letter from his cousin Scotty from McDonald Land Lock. Sunday tells Ronald that he wants them all to visit, and Ronald calls in the good old car from episode 1, making his triumphant return. Here we get our first song of the lost episode, the car trip song, and it's a bump. They even reference the far-flung forest in this song from episode 1. They get there and start hearing the stories about the legend of the monster of McDonald Land lock. And we also see the villains of the episode, which are these two guys who are trying to build a fake robot monster of McDonald Land lock so that they can get the cash prize for catching it. They start looking for the monster and they sing the song called Monster Watch, which is a bump. Who knew a series advertising McDonald's would add such bumpin' tunes? Birdie ends up finding the monster, but the monster's like, yo, you gotta keep my secret, gang. We also learn that the monster's name is Simon, which is funny to me. The fake robot monster that the two villains made ends up like going crazy and cuckoo running around town, and Ronald has to stop it. So the real monster comes out to have an epic monster battle with the robot monster. And of course the robot monster gets cooked. And that's pretty much the plot of the Monster O McDonald Land lock. Pretty fun and interesting episode, and I'm glad it got found. There is a promo at the end of this with Ronald advertising his next adventure, but a next episode was never made. And after the weird release of this episode, I think it's pretty clear that the series had ended. Well, now I've talked about every episode of this series. I really hope you enjoyed me yapping about this ad for McDonald's. Now, before we leave, I do want to mention one other thing real quick, and that is that the series did have a kind of spin-off. The Wacky Musical Adventures of Ronald McDonald Intergalactical Magical Radio was a radio play that was made in 1999 as a tie-in to the VHS series. This was not distributed through McDonald's restaurants at all, and it was only released through United Airlines in-flight radio for some reason. You can find this on archive.org, but I have no emotional attachment to it and don't really care to listen to it or review it. So if anyone else wants to, be my guest. But that was the animated McDonald's series. I really hope that y'all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Of course I'm gon' leave after I fuck you, gullible bitch. I'ma get the neck from me, then leave, I ain't cuffing you, bitch. I pray to God we don't get flicked the puncher in the whip. Apple phones in my cart, if I decline, I'm running off with it.